Good afternoon to one and all gathered here. I feel great pleasure in welcoming you all for today's session. Women are the backbone for a progressing nation. Demographically, half the population of the country constitutes women, and they deserve equal importance of rights in society. Women have been regarded as a symbol of spirituality in our scriptures. There's no limit to what we as women can accomplish. Transforming communities by enhancing women's health will be the topic for today's session. I heartily welcome our Secretary and Correspondent, Dr. P. Chinadurai, MA PhD, our Directors, Mrs. C. Vijay Rajeshwari, Mr. C. Shakti Kumar ME, and Savanya Sri Shakti Kumar BE MBA. I also welcome our principal, Dr. T. Jayanti, ME PhD, the members of Vishaka Committee and Women's Welfare Committee, and the conveners, Dr. A. Jayanti, Professor, Department of Chemistry, and Dr. S. Suma Crystal Mary, Professor, Department of IT. Doctors have a big responsibility to bring smiles on the faces of the suffering humanity. Women experience unique health care challenges and are more likely to be diagnosed with certain diseases. A gynecologist works tirelessly to bring into many cradles the cry of a newborn. I feel great privilege to welcome the speaker for today's session, Dr. A. Priyadarshini, Assistant Professor, Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Panimala Medical College Hospital and Research Institute. She graduated her MBBS from Government Tanjore Medical College and Diplomate of National Board in Obstetrics and Gynecology from Sundaram Medical Foundation, Anna Chennai. Dr. A. Priyadarshini has got an excellent career growth over the past years. She has worked as a duty medical officer in Sudhir Hospital, Tanjore, also worked as an LMO in the Department of Community Medicine in ACS Medical College, and also as a duty medical officer in Life Hospital, Tanjore. Currently, she's been working as a senior resident, Department of OBG, Panimala Medical College Hospital and Research Institute. Over the years, she has been awarded twice for the best poster presentation during post-graduation training period in various state-level conferences. Our research area is on bilateral uterine artery ligation before uterine insertion during C-section for placenta previa. With a high keynote, we are very much elated to have you with us today, ma'am. Over to you.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am?
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah. Now here. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your warm welcome, ma'am. I'm very much pleased to be here for giving a wonderful lecture on this topic. So I'll start sharing my screen. Sorry, due to some technical issues, I couldn't share my PowerPoint.
Ma'am, possible to send to my mail ID, ma'am? I will share it, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. One second then.
Okay.
Can you please tell me your mail ID, ma'am?
SUMA, Suma.
One second. SUMA.
SHE. SH.
SUMA. SHE.
YA. LIN. At gmail.com.
SUMASHEYALIN.
Yeah.
Is that right, ma'am?
Yeah, right, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, I have forwarded the mail, ma'am, to you.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, share my
Yeah.
PPT. Okay. Okay, ma'am. Continue, ma'am.
Okay. Is it being shared, ma'am?
Yeah, no problem, ma'am. I will share it.
Okay. So I need not share my screen, right, ma'am?
Yeah, ma'am.
Fine, ma'am. Fine. Okay. Very good evening to one and all here. I'm very much pleased to have a lecture on this topic, a very wonderful topic, uh, enhancing the women's health. So how does it help in transforming the community by focusing on the women's health? So this is a topic that we are going to have a discussion about now. So why is it always the women's health is being given so much importance by various governments, including our Indian government and the various organizations? So any idea behind what is the need for emphasizing so much on this women's health? Uh, so okay. The answer lies here. Women are considered the weaker section of the community. So the test of any civilization is the measure of consideration and care which it gives to its weaker members. So which means how, in what way women are considered a weaker section? Is it like in the numbers, or is it in terms of quality of the women's strength? Let's see. Now, just having a look at the demographics of India, you can see our population is right now 139 crores. So out of which 51 percentage proportion is the male and 48 proportion will be the females. So if you see if you look at the sex ratio, it is 940 females per 1,000 males. What does it mean? The males are outnumbered. So females in uh, general will constitute a minority group in this Indian population. So that itself will give a very drawback kind of thing to the females to have a very good privileged healthcare in our society. So why is this? Why is this discrimination, or why is this disadvantage? This is because of the various socio-cultural factors that are being there in our country, not only India, in various other countries also for so many years. So it's because of the unequal power relationship between men and the women, the various social norms that decrease the education and paid employment opportunities to women, and women are always, even till now, being as an exclusive focus only because of their reproductive roles, not because of any other thing. And other things that contribute to a very poor woman's health is the violence and the poverty also. Poverty affects all gender, like male, the female, whoever it is, but it still has a very significant impact on the women's health. So in general, if you look in our society, uh, the male, because they are being the earning member of the family, will tend to get all the care and the need, even including their health, because of this poverty. So what is health? Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being, and it is not just merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So, if you look at health, it includes both your physical and your mental health. And not only that, the social well being as well. So, if you want to have a healthy society, you will have to have a healthy physical and a mental state as well. So, if you look at the life expectancy in India, it is 68.7 years in the recent years. That is being predicted by the National Health Profile in 2019. The data has been released in 2019. The life expectancy is 68.7 years, which is very much higher compared to the previous years, like in the 19th century. So the females are having a very good life expectancy than the males. It's almost 70.2 years for the females, whereas the male will have a life expectancy of 67.4 years. So having given this a very lengthened life expectancy, we need to have a very good health profile also for the females. Okay, and before moving on to how to have a very good health care, let's see what are the major causes of death or the drawbacks in women's health. So this is a data published by the WHO regions, by the WHO organization in various WHO regions. So if you look at the percentage, if you look at the Southeast Asia, you can see that 52% of the death in the country is because of the non-communicable diseases, and 39% of death is because of the maternal and the perinatal conditions. This is where the impact of women's health comes in. And the rest 9% is due to injuries. It can be any road traffic accident or any violence, any other thing that will be included in the rest 9%. So to have a very good women's health, then we will have to address this 39% of cause of death. That is by the maternal and perinatal conditions, the other nutritional deficiencies, and the communicable diseases as well. So having said that, the maternal and the perinatal death focuses, creates a major impact on the women's health. Looking at the maternal mortality rate in India, which means that how many women die per 1 lakh live birth. So it is almost 113, that is 113 women die per 1 lakh live birth, which means that every woman, like out of 1 lakh women who give a healthy fetus or a healthy live born to the society, 113 women dies. Okay, so this is a huge rate, but compared to the past, this is a very improving trend. Like in the past, we had 216 MMR, the maternal mortality globally, as recorded by the WHO. And our main vision now, according to the sustained development goal, is to have it less than 70 per lakh live birth by the year 2030. So that much of emphasis is being given to this maternal and perinatal mortality. Why is that emphasis? Is because this is the major area where the women's health can be looked upon. So our aim in the future will be to reduce the annual reduction to by at least 7.5% by the year 2030. Okay. To have a healthy nation, you need a healthy home. And to have a healthy home, you need to have a healthy woman. And for that, you need to have a good maternal and child health, because this will act as a single unit during the antenatal period. That is when the woman is childbearing, when she has conceived, the fetus is a part of that mother. And when that mother gives a healthy baby to the society, then she can bring or develop a very good home with a healthy home. Okay, and there are certain diseases of the mother during pregnancy which are likely to affect the fetus as well. So if these conditions are addressed during the pregnancy itself, then the likelihood of decreasing the fetal death or the newborn death will be very less. And after that, after birth also, the child is still dependent on the mother for her feeding. And still the postpartum care, that is after delivery care, becomes a very important here. So including the breastfeeding and other family planning advice. So what is the global strategy now to address this women's health? So we have a very good strategy focusing mainly on this reproductive age and the child, the neonate in the sense the newborn and the under 5 age group. So if you want to have a very good women's health, then your care and focus should be on saving the mother's life. And with that, you will bring about a very good newborn care, and then the adolescent. If the newborn care is achieved with a greater percentage, then the adolescent care can also be achieved. And this will help in reducing the adolescent death also. So this is a global strategy that is to focus on the mother's health, the pregnant ladies who are going to give the future newborn, and then that future newborn will become a very good adolescent if the care is being catered to the mother, pregnant mother. So how do we improve the how do we address to these various strategies? It is by addressing to the inequality in access and the quality of reproductive, maternal and newborn healthcare services, and ensuring universal health coverage for the comprehensive reproductive, maternal and newborn healthcare, addressing all other causes of maternal mortality, like what causes the mothers to die during their pregnancy or during their delivery, and strengthening other health systems to respond to the priorities of women and girls. And finally, ensuring the accountability to improve the health quality of care and the equity. So what is our strategy? What is our the thing that I have spoken about is the global strategy that is being recommended by the WHO, World Health Organization. What about our Indian strategy? We have a very excellent strategy here in role, especially in our Tamil Nadu state, the RMNCH plus A strategy. This is nothing but the same global strategy where the focus, instead of on the pregnant women, it starts in the pre-pregnant period itself. So the care starts in the adolescent age group. So the adolescents will be taken care of to see that they receive a good nutrition, they don't suffer from any malnutrition, they receive good iron and all that, and the education is also being looked upon. And if all this are being given to the adolescent or in the pre-pregnancy period itself, then their pregnancy will be carried out in a healthy condition. So if the pregnancy is being carried out in a healthy condition, then their childbirth will also be in a healthy condition, and that will result in a healthy newborn and a healthy childhood. And then the circle continues, the childhood into adulthood, and then that circle again continues if she is a female child. Okay, then looking at the various health needs that each group of individual, each the male and the female need during their each period of life. So we will divide the stages of life into childhood, adulthood, the reproductive age group, the premenopausal and the postmenopausal. I will explain in detail what does all these stages of life mean. So adolescent life. We all know that the adolescent life age group starts from 12 years of age and till it is 19, the teenage, that is what we call as the adolescent, and then it now widely caters to the age group of even up to 22 to 24 years. So what is the main thing that we will have to look at the adolescent age group? So the first and prime most important thing is the menstrual hygiene. So this is the age group where the girls attain their puberty. Not only the girls, even the boys attain their puberty, but it is the girls who will have to suffer a little. Okay, and this menstrual hygiene has to be imparted in every school and every college through health education programs by the teachers. So they have to be taught about how frequently they will have to use their pad napkins, how safely to dispose the napkins, and at what point of time they will have to obtain help in case of any menstrual abnormalities. And mental health is also very important, because that adolescent period is the most stressful period where that individual will have to come across a various amount of stress, including her education and the growing pattern also. The puberty is not a simple thing. It's just not the physical changes. It also imparts a lot of mental changes to that individual. So she needs a very good supportive system by the family and by the school teachers or the college teachers. And HPV vaccination, what is that? We know that the incidence of cancer, that the cervical cancer or the breast cancer, is on an increasing trend nowadays in both worldwide and in India. So to address that, we have come with a wonderful solution, the HPV vaccination. This is to prevent the occurrence of cervical cancer. So cervical cancer is nothing but every reproductive male will have the uterus and along with that the cervix. So this cervical cancer is one which is caused by a viral infection. It is called as human papilloma virus. So that is the virus which is the main culprit behind this cervical cancer occurrence in the age group. And it mainly affects the low socioeconomic status, and not only that, it even affects the higher educational groups also. The main cause for this cervical cancer will be poor hygiene, poor menstrual hygiene also. So that's why the emphasis is being given on the menstrual hygiene. And so if one practices and adopts a very good menstrual hygiene, then and a perineal hygiene, then the chance of this infection can be avoided. And having said that, this virus infection, having being there in this COVID era, we know that every viral infection or every other infection can be prevented with a vaccine, and this is the same. This human papilloma vaccine virus can be prevented in progressing into a disease and into a cancer by giving the adolescents the HPV vaccination. So it is a 3-dose vaccination. That is, you will have to have your dose right at the age of 9. So it begins in your childhood itself nowadays. I don't think the present generation would have been vaccinated with this HPV vaccine, but now the Institute of Pediatrics have inculcated the HPV vaccination in the schedule, immunization schedule. So this vaccination will be given at the age of 9 years. Doesn't matter if you didn't have that vaccine at the age of 9. You can have it any time at any time of your life stage. Even if you are 25 years, doesn't matter. Even if you are 45 years, doesn't matter. You can still have it safely, and it requires 3 doses. The first dose will be the first month, and then after 1 or 2 months you will have another vaccine, and then after 6 months you will have the third dose vaccine. So it's a 3-dose vaccine schedule, and it doesn't have any side effects, and it gives literally 99% a protection to the cervical cancer. Okay, this is one important thing that I wanted to stress in this lecture, to please get vaccinated, whoever has not been vaccinated for HPV vaccine. And another thing is that this vaccine is very effective if it is being given before one starts their sexual activity. So having said that, sexual activity still increases the chance of HPV infection. That's why this HPV vaccination has to be started before one starts their sexual life. And this HPV virus, the human papilloma virus, is responsible for not only causing the cervical cancer, but also for the anal cancer and the oral cancer also. So having vaccinated with HPV will prevent you from so many other cancers apart from your cervical cancer. Even for the males, it prevents their anal cancer and other oral cancer also. And giving a good nutrition and a physical activity is also very important to maintain adequate health. Nutrition in the sense, female with their loss of blood during their every menstrual period, they will tend to fall anemic. So we will have to supplement them with iron-rich food. The various iron-rich foods like green leafy vegetables, meat, including fish and liver of meat. So all that will improve the iron levels in the individual. So every female who tends to have their cycle flow heavily will have to take iron-rich food, or if that is not enough, then they will have to take supplements of iron tablets as well. And having a good physical activity is also very important to have a good muscle tone also. Moving on from adolescent age group to the reproductive age group. This is the time where one will have to choose a lot from a lot of choices. So it is between the career or the family. If one have to look at the family, then they may have to forego the career, and it's vice versa. But still, women are now becoming more intelligent in tackling both the career and the family. For that, you need a supportive family your partner or your spouse and your mother, father, everyone who is there in their home to have a very good balanced career and a family. So this reproductive age group is where the entire women's health strategy is being acted upon by various governments and other organizations also, because as I said, this is the place where you can manage two individuals, the mother and the baby. So if the baby's health is being looked upon at this level, at the root level, then the that baby will grow into a healthy adult. That's the main reason behind focusing the reproductive age group. So, having a healthy pregnancy, what does it mean? Having a healthy pregnancy is having a minimum antenatal visit of 8. Antenatal visit is the period of conception, the 9 months. That is what we called as antenatal period. And during that 9 months, you will have to attend your hospital visit at least 8 times. Okay, so that will depend on the various months. Let me not go in detail into it. And then this is why I'm telling this is, if you have your kith and kin or your neighbors, you can very well educate them to have a complete antenatal care in the institution, in hospitals. In the previous era, this was not there. That's a good antenatal care and a good pregnancy care was not there, and that had led to a very large number of maternal deaths in the past. Not only maternal deaths, if the maternal deaths are high, the newborn deaths will also be high. So that is the reason now we are emphasizing more on the on having a healthy pregnancy. So having a minimum of 8 antenatal visits, it's minimum that I'm talking about. Minimum of 8 antenatal visits is must to have a healthy pregnancy till till the woman delivers. The intranatal care is nothing but the care given during her delivery. So during delivery, the various chances that the mortality, that is the death rate of the mother and the newborn, is at a higher level, because delivery is a very stressful process for the mother, laboring mother, and the newborn also. So there are various other conditions like diabetes in pregnancy, hypertension in pregnancy. These are the most important conditions which can continue beyond the pregnant period. That is, they can the pregnant mother, even after her pregnancy, even after she delivers, can continue to have her diabetes or hypertension, because so that the screening is much important even after she delivers her baby. So that will be held with the postnatal care. So any woman who is diabetic or hypertensive during her antenatal time will have to have a very good follow-up for her sugars and BP during the postnatal time also. And another thing is, any woman who had diabetes or who had hypertension during her pregnancy, then that individual, that baby, the newborn, the fetus that was there in her womb, is also at a higher risk of uh, getting that hypertension or diabetes in his or her adulthood or the um, reproductive age group, be it male or female, they are at a higher risk. So, a fetus or a newborn of a diabetic or a hypertensive mother are also at a higher risk of getting those diseases. So, they will also have to be screened for during their later part of lifetime. And postnatal care doesn't end with that. It includes a very important thing, that is, nurturing the newborn is equivalent to nurturing the nation's next generation. Uh, this woman is a very familiar woman. She is the Prime Minister of New Zealand, who is known for removing all the social stigma around breastfeeding in public places. So, breastfeeding is a important notion that has to be emphasized here, because that single act, that breastfeeding act, will save a lot of babies from dying at an early age. So we have seen so many ads from UNICEF being broadcasted in television and all, they all emphasize mainly on the newborn care. The newborn care is so important that if a healthy newborn, I am emphasizing this again and again, if a healthy newborn is uh, uh, produced by a woman, then that will lead to a very healthy adolescent life of that newborn. So in that case, breastfeeding will play a very important role. So soon after delivery, the woman will start her breastfeeding within half an hour to 1 hour after her delivery, be it normal delivery or cesarean. So the woman will start her breastfeeding, and that will continue exclusively for the first 6 months of life. So for the first 6 months of life of the newborn, he or she will not have anything other than the breast milk. So it is the one and only nutrition for the newborn. So that amount of nutrition and strength is being there in that breastfeeding. So every woman and every other male also who are there in the home, the spouse, the father, grandfather, anyone can encourage the women to breastfeed, be it in a public place or home where there are a lot of visitors or attendees. You can please encourage them to breastfeed. It is not a matter of social stigma or anything else. Moving on from the reproductive age group to the premenopausal. So the reproductive age group is nothing but it starts from the age of 15, like when she attains her puberty, till the age of 35 to 40, till her eggs are being produced in a healthy condition, she is fertile. The lady is fertile and she can reproduce any number of times. Okay, and that is the reproductive age group. So during that age group, we will be concentrating only on the pregnant time. So that is the time where the maximum amount of health can be given to the women. Okay, moving on from the reproductive age group to the premenopausal age group. This is the time where there are a lot of changes that occurs in the body of the women. So it's just not the changes of the health condition. It is also the changes of the environment, the work and the home environment that is going to give her a lot of mental as well as physical impact on the body. So the hormonal changes are the ones behind the various mental and the stress physical impacts. If you look at the various other disease conditions, you can see that hypertension, diabetes are the main causes of health problems in female compared to males. So to address this, we will have to have a very good screening of the non-communicable diseases. Non-communicable diseases are nothing but the hypertension, the diabetes are the ones which are the major non-communicable diseases, and also the heart disease, ischemic heart disease. The ischemic heart disease is nothing but the heart attack that we call a myocardial infarction is the one, which is another most common reason for women's death, mortality. So screening for hypertension and diabetes is very important in this age group, the premenopausal and the perimenopausal age group. So this screening can start even at a very early age. In case if the woman was pregnant during her, in case a woman has had diabetes or hypertension during her pregnancy, or if there is any family history of diabetes or hypertension, in case the mother or father or the brother of any individual has diabetes or hypertension, then that the relative of that individual, the first degree relative of that individual will have to be screened at a early stage, like at the age of at least 35 years or 40 years, for these non-communicable diseases, the diabetes and the hypertension, which are the main culprit behind every other disease in the body, be it heart attack, myocardial infarction, or any other liver disease or kidney disease. These two are the major culprits. So screening for that is being done at any hospital or any primary healthcare centers in any rural or the urban areas. So it's always better to have a health check of your BP and blood sugar at least once in a year. And screening for cancer. The cancer deaths have now increased so much that it has overcome the death caused by non-communicable diseases. So the of various other cancers that are there worldwide, the cancer of breast and the cancer of cervix is being talked upon so much in women because these two are having a very high mortality rate. That is, these two can be easily prevented than it can be easily cured. That is the thing. So we are mainly aiming at identifying these individuals with early stages of breast or cervical cancer at an early stage, so that a very good life expectancy can be given to them. That the longevity will be reduced when we diagnose this cancer, the breast or the cervical cancer, at a later stage. That's why the screening comes in here, and the screening begins with a very simple procedure, that is self-examination of breast. There are a lot of videos on YouTube. You can go and Google it to have how to examine your breast yourself. So it's just a matter of 5 minutes. If you do it every 3 months once, it will be a very good thing to avoid so many other conditions, the cancer or any other benign conditions of the breast also. And the cervical cancer, this has to be done, the screening of this for the cervical cancer will have to be done in hospital, that is with the help of pap smear. This will be like a smear which will be taken from the cervix. The cells are removed from the cervix and they will be examined under microscope to see whether there are any chances of these cells that can be turned into malignant cells. So this will have to be done by a gynecologist. Not only gynecologists, even other family physicians are also doing the pap smear check. And this can be started, this pap smear screening can be started as early as from the age of 25 years, once the individual begins her sexual activity. And this will have to be, the screening will have to be continued until the age of 65 years. There are various norms, and it depends, the screening frequency and all that will depend on the individual. So this pap smear test is a very good, has got a very good sensitivity and specificity to detect the cervical cancer at a very early stage, even before the normal cells are being turned into malignant cells. They can be identified, the intermediate, the dysplasia stage, what we call as, according to medical terminologies, they can be picked up at a very early stage, even at the pre-malignant stage, with the help of this pap smear. So my take-home advice will be emphasis on this pap smear and the HPV vaccination, which is the vaccine that is used to prevent cervical cancer. To your knowledge, this cervical cancer is the only vaccine preventable cancer so far. No other cancer has been can be prevented by a vaccine. Okay, so this is the only cancer, the cervical cancer, the cancer which is caused by human papilloma virus, is the only cancer that can be prevented with a vaccine. Like how you have your COVID vaccine, this is the vaccine to prevent your cancer. And moving on to the postmenopausal stage. What is the postmenopausal stage? It is the stage where your menstruation stops, your monthly periods or your menses stops. So this usually occurs at the age of 50 years. It varies, 45 to 50. The mean average time is at the age of 50 years for the Indian population. So it is during this period that the women will suffer a lot with mental and physical changes, because all the hormonal good hormones that are secreted in the body, in the women's body, the estrogen, will all come to a very low level, and that reduction in the hormone will lead to a lot of other irritative symptoms, like she can have a hot flush, she can have irritative voiding of urine, and she can have a disturbed sleep also. So all that will be because of the hormonal changes that are occurring in the women. And this estrogen in the woman's body will is the one that has kept her in a very good health condition, like the condition of her heart and the condition of her bone was kept under normal levels only with the help of this estrogen hormone. So if this hormone is being cut down in our body as a result of menopause, then the bone strength and the strength of your heart will come down, which means you will have a very high risk of facing osteoporosis like conditions, the knee pain, all that you have, the arthritis like conditions will increase once you attain your menopause. And the heart attack, the myocardial infarction, the hypertension, diabetes will also tend to increase during this postmenopausal stage or the geriatric stage, that is the age above 50 years, 45 or 50 years. Okay, and so this is the time where you will have to look at your bone health. So you will have to supplement yourself with calcium rich diet like milk, or having a walk, or at least stand in front of the sunlight for at least half an hour in the morning to have a rich amount of vitamin B absorption in your body. That will help a lot in absorbing calcium from your diet. And mental health, I have already told about. The estrogen is a very good hormone that will keep you in a hale and a healthy condition. With the reduction of that hormone post menopause, your mental health will come down. This will lead to a lot of depression, stress, and other conditions also. And another important thing in the postmenopausal stage is your neuroregression syndromes, like your Parkinson's or Alzheimer's disease, which will tend to pull down your memory. So this also will tend to cause a lot of health impact for the postmenopausal women. And here comes again the NCD and the CD. What is that? The non-communicable diseases and the communicable diseases. So the hypertension and the diabetes will again have to be looked at in the postmenopausal stage, because there is still a higher tendency to have to develop these conditions in your postmenopausal stage. And the ischemic heart disease also. That ischemic heart disease can also occur due to increased cholesterol in your body also. So having a balanced diet between your carbohydrate, protein, and your fat is very much important to prevent these three conditions, the metabolic syndrome we will call this as. So to prevent your hypertension, diabetes, and your hypercholesterol, you will have to have a very balanced diet. Okay. And this communicable diseases is also one thing which is being given so much importance in this COVID era, because the postmenopausal individuals, or the ones above 40 or 60s, will have to have a very less immunity in their body. So that will make them to be more prone to get all other kind of infections. The COVID infection or any other virus infection is more common in this period, because the immunity will be suppressed. It will not be like as high as in the reproductive age group. And also the immunity can be suppressed due to the various other non-communicable disease conditions also in that individual, like the diabetes or the hypertension also can pull down their immunity and can lead and can make them prone for various infections, opportunistic infections, and such kind of infections in postmenopausal at the geriatric age group. So with this, once again, I emphasize my take-home advice that the HPV vaccination is more important for the adolescent age group to prevent the cervical cancer, and attending to the pregnant mother, the care of the pregnant mother, and ultimately the care of the newborn with the breastfeeding is so much important to have a healthy community, to have a healthy home. First of all, if the woman is healthy, then she can have a good pregnancy. If the pregnancy is happens in a healthy condition, then she can deliver a healthy baby and give a healthy future generation to the nation. So in this way, you can transform the community by giving so much of importance to the women's health. So I conclude my lecture with this. Those individuals, those females who have not been vaccinated for HPV, please get it vaccinated, and also the COVID vaccine. So remove all the social stigma around all the Covishield vaccines or Covaxin, and please have yourself vaccinated and stay healthy at home. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Gunapriya?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm.
A warm and graceful evening to our most valued guest management committee, worthy staffs, and my beloved students, as well as one and all gathered over here. I, on behalf of Information Technology Department in Panimalar Institute of Technology and the entire fraternity of the institution, first of all, I extend my most sincere thanks to Almighty On my own behalf, I extend every hearty vote of thanks to the chief guest, Dr. A. Priyadashini, who spared time from her busiest schedule to grace the occasion. Thank you so much, ma'am. I
Thank
also extend my thanks to our secretary and correspondent, Dr. P. Chinadurai, and our principal, T. Jayanti, and our HOD, Dr. R. Josephine Leela, and our convener, Dr. A. Jayanti, and Dr. R. Suma Crystal Mary, for organizing this event. Last but not the least, I also thank the participants for their active participation throughout the session. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, ma'am. Priyadarshini, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
ma'am,
for a
for
very informative session, ma'am.
yeah,
Thank you so
madam.
much.
Yes, madam.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
giving me
students.
this pleasure. Thank you, madam.
Okay, ma'am. Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am.
Students, please submit the feedback form. I have to forward the chat box. Please submit it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.